whatever you accomplish in your life, say you become the president of a company or the president of your country or whatever it is, it won't be as important as the relationships that you have throughout your life and the end of your life.
Because I think sometimes we don't realize these tiny moments in our days and in our conversations where we might say something that's a tiny bit insensitive.
Tenderness is actually a strength and a power. It's not weakness, it's a strength.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Fascinating Womanhood channel. On our channel, we talk about everything that has to do with developing femininity and building strong, long-lasting, loving relationships. I am Sherry Lynn, and I'm here with my mom, Dixie Andelin Forsyth. Hi.
Hi.
So welcome back to our Ladylike behavior series. We're doing this series for all of you out there to break down all of the points about being more ladylike, and they all stem from Dixie's book, Fascinating Womanhood for the Timeless Woman. All of you ladies out there that really want to work on your ladylike behavior, you can understand it better, and you can also clarify some of the points that are in Dixie's book. So today we're talking about 5 points to help you to become a little bit more gracious. So graciousness is a really big topic. What do we mean by graciousness?
Graciousness, of course, we got the definition, is the quality or state of being benevolent, courteous, and kind. You'd think this would come naturally to everybody, but it's kind of been lost a little bit in some of our societies around the world. You notice on the internet, you think, how can people be so rude? So we're talking about this.
Yeah, and this isn't just about how to build your relationship with your husband or your boyfriend. This is about graciousness in all aspects of your life, with making more friends. And there's so much, like you just said, there's so much nastiness out there in this world right now. And it's getting worse, doesn't it? Like everywhere.
Well, it feels like the internet, because people aren't seeing each other face to face, they're more willing to be rude. But why would you be rude to anyone, whether you can see them or not?
Well, it doesn't make you feel good. I can see a lot of people watching this and being like, oh, I want to learn how to appear more gracious. Well, that's great, but it's also about how you feel inside. It's truly a shift inside of you to be gracious and to learn how to really be great with graciousness, something that we'll probably have to work on forever. But we're going to go through 5 points because we want to discuss what this really means and different areas that you can work on and be aware of.
Exactly. It's a lifelong thing. Most of the principles in Fascinating Womanhood are a lifelong thing, but that's fine because none of us are perfect. And this gives us a goal to shoot for.
All right. So what's the first one?
Tenderness. This comes naturally to women. The first thing I picture when I think of tenderness is when you see a baby. A little baby, or you see somebody hurt. You see someone who's been unfairly treated. The feeling you feel towards them is tenderness. And I see it in women a lot. Women are the ones who start charities more for people who are underprivileged. They're the ones who often head up homeless kitchens and things like that. Women are good at this. We have a natural tendency towards it. Showing empathy for others, and whether it's a newborn baby or a homeless person on the street, or you hearing about somebody on the news who's suffering, you see things and you maybe donate some money or you offer words of comfort, things like that. That's tenderness.
Tenderness is about what people are actually seeing, as well as what's inside of you. The reason why we wanted to do these videos is to really break it down. And when I think of tenderness, I think of a lot of different things. Sometimes I even think about like a woman weeping or something. Like I think of different things, and it's nice to hear your side of it and your take on it. It's about showing empathy. It's about not being afraid to let others see that, because I think some women think that this is weak and they hide it and they don't want others to see it. Of course, there's a time and a place. You probably don't want to always be tender. That's not the goal here.
There's a time to be firm, like if you have a child and your child has just hit a sibling.
Right. You don't want to be tender.
To be firm. Tender is when you see suffering. Have you ever been in the hospital or in a situation where you were vulnerable, when you're in a bed, you're hurting, you're sick or something, you're vulnerable, and somebody was tender with you when you're in labor? And if you've ever had a nurse who was kind and tender, and one that says, oh, this isn't so bad, just grow up. there's a huge difference in the one who's tender. You remember it. And it's not only appealing, it's a very needed thing in this world.
So I think there are even times and places to be tender when you might think you need to be firm and you actually could be tender to diffuse it. My son recently got into a bit of a tiff with his friend. And I just loved that the other mother and myself were able to kind of diffuse it, let them kind of take care of it, because the two of us were on the same page that we needed to react in a tender way to the silly little misunderstanding. I think some women might see that as an opportunity to be tough when it wasn't what was needed. And I think a really amazingly powerful feminine woman is able to understand the right time to be tender and the right moments when it's appropriate.
There's plenty of people who are not tender in this world. We've got plenty of them. Tenderness is actually a strength.
Right.
And a power. It's not weakness. It's a strength because it influences people for the good and it affects people.
That's a really good one. I'm glad that you kind of explained that a little bit more. The next one is sincere gratitude.
We talk about it all the time in a time when it's kind of tough. This world is kind of tough. And part of it is we have such good communication around the world. We know things that are happening in other countries where people are suffering. And so when you're grateful, it's easy to think how horrible things are and not focus on things that we're grateful for sincerely, not just say we're grateful, but actually allow ourselves to feel grateful.
Right.
Like I feel so lucky to have the husband that I do. I feel so lucky that I found him. I feel so grateful for my children. I feel so grateful for my house.
I think this also has to do with receiving compliments. A person that is sincerely gracious and is grateful is going to accept compliments sincerely. And this is a big problem right now, as well as perhaps even criticism. I think that it's about being able to have that inside of you and be able to handle some of those things. Do you know what I'm talking about?
I do.
When you give somebody a compliment and you can immediately tell, well, most people, you can immediately tell whether they graciously accept that or they disagree with it because they maybe perhaps are a little insincere or they think that you are not sincere.
Or they're just insecure. I remember years ago, Bob told his mother she found it difficult to accept compliments and to accept help. Mm-hmm. And I remember he said, Mom, you're great at giving, but it's great to be a good receiver too. And what you're talking about is a receiver of compliments and being gracious. And that's really, and be sincere. That's really kind of you. Thank you. It makes the other person's day too. So being a gracious giver and a gracious receiver, but being grateful, sincerely grateful for things makes you a happier person and it balances your life out more because there really are always lots of things to be grateful for.
Yeah. And it can be tough to practice this when you're not used to it. If you've lived a life of, this is just not something that I practice. And when I say practice it, I mean literally thinking every single day about things that you are genuinely so thankful for at least a couple minutes. It needs to be something you protect every day. And however you want to do it is however you want to do it. That's great. But if you're not used to that, it can be kind of tough at first, especially if you're in kind of a negative place. Mm-hmm. It can feel strange. But if you can really learn to practice this, it really does shift everything about you and who you are. And people will probably even start to comment that know you well, how different you are, because in a positive way, because
you'll feel better.
Because you just naturally just feel better. And I know that's hard. And some of us have other bigger challenges than others. And there's mental health issues and things like that. But I think there's no excuse to not be grateful for some of the things that you have, like safety. I think you mentioned that earlier, like feeling safe. Like that's a huge one right now.
Safe. You can be grateful. It's a sunny day.
Right. Right.
Especially if you've gone through a snowstorm or something, you can be grateful. Oh, it's a beautiful day.
No, it's funny. I took my daughter to school today and she said, because she only goes to school 3 days a week. She said, what day is it today? And I said, it's Monday. And she said, I love Mondays. And I couldn't help but kind of feel like, inspired by that, because it was like, what do you love about Monday? Nobody likes Monday. She liked Monday because it's a school.
She's an optimist.
She's an optimist. And she's naturally like that.
Although she doesn't like the color brown.
She doesn't like the color brown at all. No.
You say, If you say you're going to wear brown today, she goes,
Well, and it's funny because even if it's not a school day, I'll catch her still saying, what day is it today? I'll be like, it's Tuesday. And she'll be like, I love Tuesday. And I'll ask her why. And she'll say something about some random thing that happens on Tuesday that I didn't even think of. And I think she helps me to kind of think about those things. And I know it's a child and it's small, but there's always something that you can be grateful for, and spend some time actually thinking about it every day. Just try it. The next one is loving with your whole heart. When I first read this, I have to admit, I was just like, what does that mean? What does that mean?
Partly means you accept the person. You accept them. You can love someone with your whole heart if it doesn't require them to be a different person than they are. Mm-hmm. And loving with your whole heart, the first thing that comes to mind is your own children, if you have children. Some women have said when they had a baby, they thought, if I have another baby, I can't possibly love that baby as much as this baby. And then you do. Yeah. So you can love multiple people with your whole heart.
And I think this has a lot to do, as you've explained it more, and I've kind of tried to learn a lot more about it. I think this has to do with your sense of loyalty, mm-hmm. how loyal you are to others. If you want to be a gracious woman and you want to work on your ladylike behaviors, as we're talking about in the series, part of that is you being a really loyal friend, a loyal person, someone that says something and means it, follows through. All of that kind of comes with, in a way, loving with your whole heart, your sense of family, your sense of care for those that are less fortunate than you. It all has to do with love. And I think it's something that's not discussed very often.
When you love someone with your whole heart and then they do something that hurts you, disappoints you, or whatever, when you love someone with your whole heart, you won't just think, well, they did this or they said this, so therefore I'm not going to have anything to do with them again, or I'm not going to trust them anymore. You throw that incident into a big pile and you take it all into consideration with the whole person that you love. And all the things, the reasons you love them in the first place. It doesn't destroy your relationship when you love someone with your whole heart.
And forgiveness. What I heard and what you just said too is a little bit of a theme of forgiveness. The constant doesn't mean that people walk all over you and you let anyone get away with anything. Doesn't mean that at all. It just means that you believe in the good in people for the most part.
And their intent.
And their intent, exactly. Their intent, and that you are a forgiving person. You are somebody that is known as a forgiving person. You know, there's a lot of people out there that, boy, you cross me even for a second and I will come at you. And it's just, there needs to be a little bit more, there needs to be more women out there. There needs to be more people out there that are a little bit more forgiving. We just are in a society right now. I feel like it's just, there's so many people attacking each other for the tiniest little things. And it's shocking. Sometimes.
There's a lot of really good people out there. You may not seem like it because of all the stuff you see in the news, but there really are a lot of really good people. I think most people, not all, most people want to have friends, have their family, have their jobs. They want to find someone to love for the rest of their life. Most people want this. It doesn't matter your culture, your language. Most people want these same things. They want to feel protected. They want to feel safe.
There's good people that have a poor way of communicating too. I think that's a big mistake. Loving with your whole heart is saying, oh boy, you know, that lady that just said that, oh boy, you know, but take it down a notch for a second and think love with your whole heart, meaning, is that what she really meant to say? Is that really, how I react to that has to do with my love and my heart for all people. And I know this is incredibly challenging because there's some people out there that will say some really horrible things.
And this is something for me that's a lifelong project. This isn't one of those things like walking and things like that you can change fairly easily. This is something that for a lot of us, it does not come naturally. We're easily wounded and we tend to put up the barrier for wounded instead of she must be or he must be having a really hard day, or I wonder what's going on in life.
The next one is generosity.
Women tend to be really good at this. It doesn't mean we don't have any need for improvement, but being generous with our thoughts, time, it kind of goes over into the last one we talked about is intent. Generous with your, I'm sure they meant well. Generous with your compliments. Compliments are free. Just make sure they're sincere. Look for something good. If somebody, you went to a lecture and someone did a really good job, tell them.
Yeah, I think compliments is a really big one that we don't give enough of. And I'm sure you probably see somebody every single day that you leave your house, that you see something that you could compliment them on. And you probably hesitate because it's a stranger. And this isn't just about strangers, but I think that's the one I go to first and foremost as I think of strangers. Working on your ladylike behavior, that woman's going to say it. She's going to be generous with her compliments and she's just going to go ahead and say it. And it just makes you feel better, makes them feel better. Why not make somebody's day?
Doesn't cost a thing.
I think too, it has to do with how you're receiving. A lot of ladies say in our group, my husband, got me this and I feel pampered. What should I do for him? And now I feel bad. And I think that also can fall under this be generous with how you accept the generosity of others. If he wants to pamper you, let him pamper you.
Well, that statement that the lady just said, if she said that to her husband, I feel so pampered.
Right.
I don't feel like I deserve it. I'm so lucky or so wonderful. That is a reward for him.
Be generous with your admiration of him.
Yeah.
That's a really big one with Fascinating Womanhood. We forget to say those things. The last one is emotional intelligence. What does that mean?
Our sensitivity to others and situations. This sensitivity is something that women generally are blessed with. We are the relationship leaders, and the world needs that. The world needs it terribly from us, and we're good at it. But sometimes some of us are raised where we're kind of taught that that's weak. You won't get ahead. You won't succeed. That it's an extremely powerful. It's part of feminine power is emotional sensitivity to others. It's why we're the world's mothers. We raise the people of this world, and whether it's figurative, meaning maybe you just help people at work. It's our sensitivity to others. It's an incredibly valuable power that we can bring to this world.
Can you give an example of emotional intelligence in a woman?
Bob and I have this, and he's a psychologist, and as a lot of you know, and so he does this kind of for a living, but when it's in his private life, sometimes he doesn't pick up on the cues. Like we had a situation with one of our adult kids. Of course, they're all adults. I was asking him, how do I deal with this situation with this one adult child? He said, well, what's the problem? And I said, the problem is the relationship that I have with that person. And how do I deal with it? And he was telling me think what I should do. He was saying you should set a boundary, all these things that men do. It's a task oriented thing. And I said, no, the problem is the relationship. I can tell that this person is hurting because this, and this are going on in their life. And we need to be sensitive. I need to be sensitive to that because this is going on with them. But I also need to express myself. And I have to do it in a way that I don't want to hurt them. That's emotional sensitivity, where he's like, just say enough of this and we're not doing this.
Right.
And that's emotional sensitivity. And what's interesting is he said, I don't know how to do that. I don't know how to balance that. And he said, I got no advice for you. Women, we naturally tend towards that. We don't always have, like I said, I need help with this. I wasn't sure how to navigate it. In the end, just talking about it, I figured out the best of the awkward things to do. And that's what I did, because the relationship that we have with others, with our sisters, our colleagues, our friends, is important. Whatever you accomplish in your life, say you become the president of a company or the president of your country or whatever it is, it won't be as important as the relationships that you have throughout your life and the end of your life. So this emotional sensitivity is extremely valuable. And if you have it, cultivate it and validate it, because it's one of your feminine powers.
I also think if you don't have it, you can learn. And part of it is accepting people. I think the biggest issue with emotional intelligence is not only accepting people, but obviously being more observant of people. And I can give a really good short example of someone that I know, a female that I know that doesn't have it. Of course, I won't say who she is, but I know someone that I just absolutely love dear to my heart, but she does not have emotional intelligence. It's just something that she lacks. And what happened in this example is a male friend of mine, his mother was dying. She was dying of cancer, and it was really serious, and he needed to take some time off, and it was getting towards the end. And when he explained this to her, this other friend of mine, he said, I'm going to have to take some time off work because my mom is dying and I just need to get everything in order because this is going to be really difficult. We're really close. There was a long, awkward pause, he told me. And she said to him, well, I don't know if you're expecting me to pray for you, but I don't pray for people. So I'm not going to pray for you. I'm sorry about your mom, but I am not a praying person. And so I don't know why you're telling me all of these things other than maybe you want me to pray for you, but I'm just not going to. And again, she's a really great person. This goes back to what we were talking about earlier about like loving with your heart and being kind to people. I know that she didn't mean to hurt him, but it hurt him terribly. And terribly. And this is a man too that we're talking about. This is a guy that's not even really that like as sensitive as most of us ladies. And he was just, he almost kind of wanted to completely cut ties with her because of those things that she said. Now, she said that because she really did mean those things. She's not a religious person and she didn't believe in those things. But what she should have done is noticed how much he was hurting and focused on what can I do to help you? Is there anything I can do? And that is emotional intelligence.
Not to mention, it doesn't sound like from what you said, he even asked her to pray.
He didn't ask her for anything other than just
her for time off,
explaining to her what was going on and that he would be absent from the circle of, that they were connected to. So I just think, I know that's an extreme version, but there's a lot of us out there that don't pick up on these things. And we say things that out of nowhere, it just seemed like a hurtful thing to say that she didn't mean to be hurtful. It was very matter of fact. And I think we can work on this. We can work on this with our husbands. We can work on this with our children. And reading the tone of the room.
So what you do is you think, I wonder how they're feeling. And then you kind of focus on that a little bit. And then it's not really that hard if you think, how are they feeling rather than how am I feeling? In the case of your friend, it's harder for me to imagine how she was feeling than him, for him, because I've lost people. I've lost parents.
Yeah.
And any of us who've had that loss, we just immediately think, this is a rough time for him.
She is a person who is very wounded and with her guard up. And she's a person that has suffered a lot. Now, I think it may have to do with the religious part of it. And I think it has to do with I feel uncomfortable right now. I don't know what to say. So I'm just going to say the first thing that pops to mind, maybe. I don't know. I don't know what she was thinking.
He wasn't talking about the religious aspect, was he?
He wasn't at all. And he was actually not a religious man. I don't know. The only reason why I bring it up is I think it's helpful. You brought up a good example. I wanted to bring up a negative kind of example because I think sometimes we don't realize these tiny moments in our days and in our conversations where we might say something that's a tiny bit insensitive. You don't know who your audience always is. You want to be careful and thoughtful. Like you said, emotional sensitivity, sensitive of others.
Years ago, I was asked to give a speech in church and I did. And it's never a fun thing. I don't like giving public addresses. And somebody came up to me later and said, oh, you're a lot better speaker than you used to be. That did not feel very good.
Thanks.
That was a rather strange compliment. I took it because we tend to do that. I took it as, I was bad. And that's what I focused on.
That was not good emotional. They meant well.
They did. But
emotional intelligence. And some men are good at emotional intelligence. This isn't just related to being women, but I think we wanted to speak about this with ladylike behavior because oftentimes with us ladies, if we don't understand this, it can really impact our influence over others. It can impact how we feel when we're talking to people. It can impact our friendships.
Well, one last note on it. Yeah. If you do a faux pas where you say something and you think, oh no, I messed up. It's okay to say, I'm really sorry I said that. I shouldn't have. I don't know what I was thinking. You can correct it. It's better to correct it than to just move on and say nothing.
That's true. That's true. Yeah. You can always go back and say, you know what? I don't know why I said that the other day.
I didn't mean it. I think you're a wonderful person and you can always fix it. And most people will be forgiving about those things.
Well, that's all we have about graciousness today. Thank you so much for explaining all these points to us. And for those of you that are new to our channel, please hit like and subscribe if you haven't already so that you can know when we have a new video come out. Attached to this video are the links to find us on social media, as well as all of the places you can find Dixie's books and workbooks. You definitely need to buy her books and workbooks if you want to understand more. This is just one tiny piece of some of the things that we talk about. So to learn more, click on those links below. And we're here every week. So don't forget to check back with us next time. We'll see you then. Bye.
See you then. Bye.